Hello everyone, this is POW Ponder on Weather. In this update, we have another active day for severe weather with large hail, damaging winds, and an isolated tornado threat, along with heavy snow, and all this transfers into a flood threat going into Monday and Tuesday as we walk you through the next 7 days. Good morning everyone, how's it going out there? This is your Saturday update. So if you're new to the channel, go ahead and click the subscribe button and notification bell to get all my daily updates to keep you ahead of the storm. So let's get right to it. Let's take a look at the overall satellite picture for this morning for April the 23rd. And man, we've got a powerful systems taking shape over the middle of the country. We got a lot of lightning strikes. Even this morning, I think things really start to get active again as we go through the afternoon, especially into the early evening hours. But we got this powerful storm system really developing, bringing very strong winds and bringing a lot of snow in its wake as well, as this will be continue to shift off into the east, bringing all three modes for severe weather today. In fact, we had a very active day yesterday. Here's the preliminary storm reports off that setup that really started to get going into the evening hours and especially into the overnight. You can see this boundary here with all these isolated hail reports, some tornado reports as well, and a lot of damaging wind reports in portions of the Panhandle, western portions of Oklahoma, as well as western portions of Kansas and into Nebraska, as well as South Dakota. And I think all this kind of shifts off into the east with another round of severe weather as we get through the evening hours. But man, it's a powerful system. We've got numerous winter weather advisories, even in that blizzard warnings in portions of Wyoming into Montana, going into North Dakota, where winter just won't let up out there. They're packing feet of snow, blowing and drifting. It's just whiteout almost conditions up there. But man, it's very windy as well. This storm system will continue to pack those winds 40, 50, 60 miles an hour, and with those stronger wind gusts of up to 70 miles an hour as well within those severe thunderstorms. Well, we do have that red flag warning continuing to persist along that boundary where that dry line. But as this system will continue to slow down for tomorrow, they already have flash flood watches in place where they're expecting several inches of rain in portions of Oklahoma, portions of northwestern Arkansas, and southern Missouri here. With this very active system will continue to move across. So let's take a look at the overall setup for today. So the Storm Prediction Center does, in fact, this is the newest update at 8 a.m., keep that slight risk for severe weather in and along portions of central Oklahoma, getting into portions of Kansas here, northwestern Missouri, all the way up into central Iowa. But this now extends all the way up into Minnesota, even North Dakota. So you've got severe weather along with blizzard warnings as well in North Dakota. And then, in fact, some of those could be rotating. So we do have a boundary. We could be looking at some isolated tornado threats as we get into the early evening hours and especially into the overnight time frame, with a little bit higher potential going into central Oklahoma, say in and around the Oklahoma City area, and basically southeast portions of Kansas here, but another kind of bullseye up here into portions of the Dakotas, as well as Minnesota, with this powerful low-level jet will be moving across. So I think things start to get really active around the 7-8 o'clock time frame. So let's take a look at the snapshot this morning on the radar imagery, and you can see this powerful low-level system dumping some heavier snows into Casper here, going into Billings, Montana, as well as into Bismarck and Minot, with that very powerful blizzard really starting to take shape and cranking out, just adding to those totals up there. But we do have numerous lightning strikes with some showers and storms in and around portions of Kansas this morning, going in the Des Moines area. This shifts all the way up into portions of Minnesota, with that powerful system will continue to move across. But as we get really into the evening time frame, so here's kind of a snapshot of what the radar could look like about 8 o'clock tonight. I do feel very strong to severe thunderstorms will be breaking out ahead of that dry line in that cold front. So we could be looking at numerous supercell thunderstorms in and around central Oklahoma area, especially into the Oklahoma City area, and right there into southeastern portions of Kansas, where I think it's really going to start to get active into portions of Missouri here, going into central parts of Iowa, into the evening time frame with those large hail, that damaging wind threat, and that isolated tornado threat, as that snow will be cranking on the backside, really starting to crank into Minot, into Bismarck, shifting all the way down into portions of South Dakota there with some of that heavier snows. And then as we shift into the midnight time frame, man, it really starts to get active. So it's an overnight threat again into central parts of the country, especially going into Oklahoma, into the Oklahoma City area. You could be looking at a bumpy ride for about 4 to 6 hours there in and around the Oklahoma City area tonight. This will continue to shift off into central Missouri, going into southeastern parts of Iowa. This will continue to shift out of Minnesota, heading into Wisconsin with the squall line, setting up into the overnight hours as things start to get active. But as we go and take a look at some of the wind gusts, I mean, it's going to be a powerful system, guys. So hold on to your hats with widespread 40 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts, essentially from Texas all the way to the Canadian border, and right along that where that powerful upper level low pressure system is, 40, 50, 60 mile per hour wind gusts, and some of those severe thunderstorms will be packing a punch with some 70 mile per hour wind gusts. So it's going to be a windy day for a good part of especially the central part of the US. So definitely, be prepared for that. But as this goes into tomorrow, I think a lot of this stuff gets, as it slows down, the low level jet really starts to slow down. That pretty strong cold front for this time of year really starts to kind of congeal together and elongate. That's going to be setting up a flood threat in portions where the Weather Prediction Center already has a slight risk for excessive rainfall. And this is why they have some of those flood watches in place up here. This whole area in yellow here could be looking at about a 2 to 4 inch rain totals in this area. So minor flooding is definitely a concern in these areas in and around, say, northwest parts of the DFW Metroplex, and going into Oklahoma, central Oklahoma, going to northwestern parts of Arkansas here, southeastern portions of Missouri, then all these areas in green, that is a marginal risk for excessive rainfall. That's more in line of that 1 to 2 inch rain totals as we get into your Monday timeframe. But as that continues to shift off into that was Sunday, going into Monday, into the overnight hours, then it shifts off to more of a marginal threat for that heavier rain, with that 1 to 2 inch swath will shift southward. So it's a late evening hour event, and then going into the overnight, and then extending into Monday morning here in portions of Arkansas, going into northwestern portions of Louisiana. So there's that 1 to 2 inch swath of that heavier rain will be moving across the area. But that will continue to shift off into Tuesday timeframe, as that system, the severe threat is pretty much subsided by then. There's really not so much severe threat even into Sunday, going into Mondays. We're just more of a marginal risk. So it's definitely more of just a heavier rain threat for those days, but that will continue to shift further off into the east. So you can look at the graph here. These totals aren't really that big. So I mean, you're checking it, basically a 1/4 inch, possibly a 1/2 inch, as this continues to shift off into portions off the East Coast, into the Carolinas, along in the end of the Northeast, along the I-95 corridor here. So, but really not expecting terribly too much rain. But as that system will continue to shift through these troughs, one after another, it's still pretty active up here into the far northwestern portions of the US. But by the time we get into Wednesday, it really rapidly clears. By the time that system will be really continue to shift off the East Coast, really there's not much rain to speak of, guys. So it's going to be pretty crystal clear across a good chunk of the country, with really no severe weather to talk about. There's no really active systems, and that's really not even much rain to deal with as we get into your Wednesday, April the 27th time frame. That system up here in the Maine will continue to shift off into the Northeast. So Wednesday looks like a pretty nice day for a good chunk of the country. But as we go into your Tuesday time frame, it's still pretty chilly up to the north. So we got these continuing to troughs, continuing to dig into off the northwest flow, into the Ohio Valley, into the Northeast, bringing those below average temperature anomalies. Some of these areas could be waking up to a freeze as we get into your Thursday, April the 28th time frame, as the midsection of the country will try to warm up But then we have yet another trough that's going to be digging in off the Pacific Northwest, bringing more cooler conditions for them. In fact, let's take a look at some of the temperature anomalies of where April has stand so far. And so, you know, you can see pretty much for California, much of the desert Southwest, much of Texas have been above average on the range of, you know, say 2 to 5 inches. This is your overall temperatures with the daily highs and the daily lows of these average mean temperatures through the 21st of April, and kind of gives you a depiction on where the U.S. stands so far, but mainly our northern tiers into the Northwest, and where really all the snow has been flying up here in Montana and North Dakota. You would expect them to be your most below average temperatures in the U.S., but it's been fairly chilly for April standards, and I think that actually just continues really for the rest of the month. So overall, you know, below average temperatures for the same areas that we've been seeing for the last 3 weeks. But if you take a look at the overall rain setup and what you're expecting really through the next 7 days, which would put you all the way through the rest of April here. Here's the graph at the bottom off the left hand corner of the screen here of the rain amounts and what these colors look like. So yeah, all these areas, and see these greens, the lighter greens, the medium greens, the darker greens, that's only a tenth, a quarter to a half inch of rainfall. But once you get into those areas of purple, into the red, that's that 1 to 2 inch swath. A lot of this is going to be in the form of snow up here. But where the system slows down, that's where that flood threat is really going to take shape. So this whole area could be picking up 2 to 4 inches. Some isolated totals here, yeah, anywhere from possibly 6 inches is definitely not out of the question. But you can definitely see as these systems continue to shift off into the east through the rest of the week. Even for next week, there's not much rain, right? I mean, even the whole state of Tennessee picking up a 1/4 inch for the rest of the month. So, and much of the southeast is going to be fairly dry as well. So it's going to be a little bit calmer pattern after we get through this very active time frame over the next several days, and then things really start to settle down, you know, after that. But of course, then it's May, and I do expect things to really start to get active again. But let's take a look at the overall snowfall totals between now and the rest of the month. I mean, man, it's just been relentless amount of snow up here in the Dakotas and Montana. Now we're adding to those totals, and so they've already seen impressive amounts for April standards, but then this is just adding to the mix of a good 2 to 4 2 feet 2 feet of snow in portions of Montana and into the Dakotas. That even extends into portions of Wyoming here. So we still could be looking at some heavier totals into the Intermountain West, and then a little bit heavier swath as we get into portions of Canada here. So hey, I appreciate you guys watching. I'm going to be giving storm updates on Twitter, so definitely follow me on there. I'll put the link in the description below for all your timely updates on all the severe weather that's going to be happening, and then the flood threats over the next today going into tomorrow. So hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely leave your comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel to catch the latest update where I protect you for and after the storm.